The Dead Sea is dying. Slowly, silently, and steadily, it's shrinking. Its waters vanishing at an alarming rate. Once one of the most iconic natural wonders on Earth, this ancient salt lake is now a shadow of what it used to be. Its water level is dropping by nearly 4 feet every year. Today, it's around 950 feet deep, a staggering number until you realize that's about 15% less than just 50 years ago. Its surface area has also shrunk by a third. What's left behind is surreal. Jagged salt formations, ghostly beaches, abandoned buildings, and a landscape punctured by thousands of sinkholes. And the strangest part? This isn't the result of a mysterious natural disaster. It's a man-made crisis. While climate change and drought have certainly played a role, most scientists agree the real cause is human intervention. Over the last few decades, Israel, Jordan, and Syria have diverted nearly all of the fresh water that once fed the Dead Sea. The Jordan River, once the lake's lifeline, used to deliver over 260 billion gallons of water each year. Today, it barely delivers a fraction of that. As a result, the Dead Sea is losing the equivalent of 600 Olympic-sized swimming pools every single day. This drop in water level has triggered something far more dangerous: sinkholes. As the lake recedes, underground salt layers are exposed. When groundwater seeps in, it dissolves these salt deposits, causing the ground to collapse. Some sinkholes are narrow and deep, up to 65 feet. Others are shallow but massive, over 250 feet wide. More than 5,500 sinkholes now scar the land around the sea. They've swallowed roads, destroyed farmland, and even pulled down buildings. Scientists can now predict where the next ones might appear, but preventing them remains almost impossible. Adding to the problem is industrial extraction. Companies like Israel's ICL Dead Sea and Jordan's Arab Potash Company pump billions of gallons of water from the lake into evaporation ponds to harvest minerals like potash, bromine, and magnesium, used in fertilizers, electronics, and cosmetics. While these industries argue that they return a portion of the water back to the lake, environmentalists claim otherwise. Some say these operations alone are responsible for nearly 40% of the annual water loss. Oddly enough, tourism is also helping mask the problem. On Israel's southern shore, resorts like Ein Bokek continue to attract tourists who float in crystal-clear waters that aren't technically the Dead Sea. These are artificial pools, filled by pumping water from the northern basin. Without these, the area would be little more than a barren salt flat. The illusion of a thriving tourist hub is carefully maintained, but it's exactly that, an illusion. There have been bold plans to save the Dead Sea. The most ambitious proposed a canal connecting the Red Sea to the Dead Sea, using desalination technology to provide fresh water to Jordan and redirect leftover brine into the Dead Sea. But after years of negotiations and rising costs, Jordan pulled out in 2021. A scaled-down version may still be on the table, but nothing is confirmed. Another proposal suggests drawing water from the Mediterranean Sea, desalinating it in the hills above the Dead Sea, and sending both fresh water and leftover brine downhill. The process could also generate hydroelectric power. It's innovative, but still far from reality. Some progress is being made. Israel and Jordan have signed an agreement to restore the Jordan River, but experts warn this won't be enough. The Dead Sea would need over 264 billion gallons annually just to stabilize, and far more to recover. That's about the same as Israel's entire agricultural water use. And the Dead Sea isn't alone. A 2023 global study found that over half of the world's large lakes and reservoirs have shrunk since the 1990s. Climate, overuse, and mismanagement are draining them dry. What happens next? That depends on what we do now. Because if nothing changes, the Dead Sea may vanish entirely, leaving behind salt, silence, and a story of how we let a wonder die. But the Dead Sea isn't the only place where nature has staged a vanishing act or a dramatic transformation. Across the planet, other lakes, islands, and strange landforms have disappeared, mutated, or defied logic in ways that still puzzle scientists today. Some vanished overnight, others left behind apocalyptic scars or mysterious structures, and a few have legends swirling around them that only deepen the mystery. Let's dive into some of the strangest cases. Bermeja Island, the phantom island that vanished from the map. Imagine this: an island appears on maps for centuries, recorded by cartographers, noted by sailors, and accepted as real geography. It's called Bermeja, a small landmass off the coast of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, sitting quietly in the Gulf of Mexico. Nothing unusual, nothing suspicious. Until one day, it's gone. In 1997, the Mexican government sent a team to physically verify Bermeja's location. The reason? Oil. The island was key to extending Mexico's territorial claims deeper into the Gulf, claims that could unlock access to a fortune in undersea petroleum reserves. But when they got there was nothing. No island, no shallow reef, not even a hint on sonar. Just open water. That's when the mystery exploded. Bermeja had been present on maritime charts since the 1500s, appearing on at least 112 different maps throughout history. And suddenly, it had vanished without a trace. How does that happen? One theory is natural. Some suggest that Bermeja was a sandbar or coral islet, gradually eroded by rising sea levels or swallowed by shifting tectonic plates. But here's the thing: no underwater remains have ever been found. Not even a submerged shelf where an island might have once stood. That's where the conspiracy theories begin. Some believe the island never existed, a centuries-long cartographic error that no one ever corrected. But others, especially among local media and political circles, have floated a more unsettling idea: that Bermeja was deliberately destroyed. According to this theory, Bermeja's disappearance conveniently eliminated Mexico's claim to key offshore drilling rights that could benefit other nations or foreign oil companies. Could someone have bombed the island or erased it through covert means? It sounds like fiction, but official reports admitted the island does not exist and no natural or artificial structure is found in its expected location. To this day, Bermeja remains a phantom, a geopolitical ghost haunting the waters of the Gulf. Whether it was a cartographic mistake, a victim of sea level rise, or something more sinister, one thing's for sure: you can erase an island from the sea, but not from the questions it leaves behind. Lake Peigneur, the day a lake turned into a giant sinkhole. It began like any ordinary day in 1980 on Lake Peigneur, Louisiana, a shallow, peaceful lake with fishing boats calmly drifting across its surface. But what happened next was anything but ordinary. It became one of the most bizarre man-made disasters in US history. Texaco had been drilling for oil on the lake when workers accidentally punctured the ceiling of a massive salt mine underneath. What they didn't realize was that the lake sat directly above the Diamond Crystal salt mine, a sprawling network of tunnels and shafts carved deep into the ground. When the drill bit broke through the mine roof, everything unraveled. Fast. A hole just a few feet wide began sucking in water. Within minutes, it transformed into a roaring vortex. The lake, over 3.5 billion gallons of water, started draining into the mine like a pulled plug in a bathtub. Barges, boats, docks, acres of land, trees, trucks, even parts of a nearby botanical garden vanished into the swirling chaos. The force was so powerful, it actually reversed the flow of a canal that typically flowed out into the Gulf of Mexico. For a short time, the Gulf flowed into the lake to fill the void. Remarkably, all miners working that day managed to escape, thanks to quick evacuation and sheer luck. No lives were lost. When it was all over, the once shallow lake had become a 1,300-foot deep crater. The salt mine was completely destroyed. And what caused it? A misplaced drill, off by just a few dozen feet. The entire event unfolded so quickly and violently, it looks like a CGI disaster movie, except it's real. To this day, Lake Peigneur stands as a jaw-dropping reminder of how a small human error can literally cause the Earth to collapse beneath our feet. The disappearing island of New Moor, fought over, then gone. In the restless waters of the Bay of Bengal, a tiny island emerged in the aftermath of a cyclone in 1970. It was barren, uninhabited, and barely a few square kilometers in size. But what it lacked in resources, it made up for in something far more valuable: strategic location. India called it New Moor Island. Bangladesh called it South Talpati. And for decades, the two countries fought over this patch of sand, sending patrol boats, raising flags, and making bold diplomatic claims. But just as the dispute threatened to escalate into a full-blown standoff, nature did something strange. It erased the island. Sometime between 2000 and 2010, satellite imagery confirmed what local fishermen and scientists had quietly suspected. New Moor had vanished beneath the rising tides. No violent storm, no sudden catastrophe. It simply disappeared, swallowed by the sea, as if nature had grown tired of the argument and made the final decision itself. And here's where it gets eerie. Neither side officially claimed victory, because what would they celebrate? The object of their long-standing geopolitical tug-of-war was now nothing more than a saltwater memory. Climate scientists quickly pointed to the rising sea levels in the Bay of Bengal, one of the regions most vulnerable to climate change. Some called the island's disappearance a case of climate justice, a symbolic reminder that while nations squabble over land and power, the Earth has its own plans. Others viewed it as a cosmic joke, a petty island vanishing to prove a larger point. What remains today is not a territory, but a cautionary tale, a stark reminder that in this new era of rising seas, even nations can argue over land that may not be here tomorrow, and that sometimes nature ends the debate with a quiet, unstoppable tide. The boiling river of the Amazon. Tucked away deep in the Peruvian Amazon lies a river unlike anything else on Earth, Shanai Timpishka, or the river that boils. Stretching nearly 4 miles long and up to 80 feet wide, it may look like an ordinary river at first glance, until you get close enough to feel the heat. Then you realize this water isn't just warm, it's scalding. In some places, the temperature soars past 200 degrees Fahrenheit, 93 degrees Celsius, hot enough to boil animals alive if they fall in. And yes, that's actually happened. Local stories tell of frogs, birds, and even snakes that made the fatal mistake of slipping in, cooked in minutes. But what makes this river truly puzzling isn't the heat, it's where the heat comes from. Most boiling rivers or hot springs are connected to volcanic activity or deep geothermal faults. But the boiling river isn't. It's located hundreds of kilometers away from the nearest volcano. No obvious geothermal source. No clear explanation. Scientists have studied it. Theories suggest water seeps deep into the earth through fault lines, gets heated far below, then resurfaces through cracks in the ground. But even that doesn't fully explain how this much water stays consistently hot over such a long stretch. To the Ashaninka people, the indigenous guardians of the forest, the river is sacred. They believe it holds spiritual power, guarded by a mighty jungle spirit. Today, the boiling river remains one of the Amazon's greatest unsolved natural mysteries, a place where science, legend, and the raw forces of the earth collide. In a world where we think we've mapped everything, it's a stunning reminder. There are still places that science can't quite explain, and nature isn't done surprising us. Lake Beloye, the lake that vanished overnight. In the still darkness of a spring night in 2005, something truly bizarre happened in the Yaroslavl region of central Russia. Locals near Lake Beloye, a small but picturesque body of water they'd known for generations, went to bed under a starry sky. By morning, the lake was gone. Not dried, not frozen. Gone. What remained was a gaping, muddy crater where the lake had once rippled peacefully, its waters, fish, and ecosystem swallowed without warning. Villagers stood at the edge of the pit in disbelief. It looked as if the earth itself had simply opened up and drunk the lake dry overnight. And in a way, that's exactly what happened. Investigations later revealed that a massive sinkhole had formed beneath the lake. The region is riddled with limestone karst formations, geological structures that are naturally prone to erosion. Over time, underground water had dissolved the rock beneath the lakebed, hollowing it out like Swiss cheese. One final shift was all it took to collapse the floor, pulling the entire lake into the underground void in a matter of hours. But the weirdness doesn't stop there. Locals reported hearing deep rumbles during the night, almost like thunder underground. Others spoke of strange bubbling sounds, as if the lake was being drained by something unseen. No one was injured, but the psychological impact lingered. How could something so permanent just vanish? And here's the kicker. The lake never came back. Despite rainfall and runoff, the void beneath Lake Beloye now acts like a drain, swallowing any water that enters it, preventing the lake from refilling. Today, all that remains is a muddy depression surrounded by silence and a deep sense of unease. Lake Beloye is more than just a disappearing body of water. It's a reminder that under our feet, the earth is never truly still, and sometimes it chooses to take back what it gave without warning. Lake Natron, the lake that turns animals into stone. In northern Tanzania, near the border of Kenya, lies a lake that looks more like something from a dream or a nightmare. With its vivid blood-red waters, mirror-like stillness, and cracked salt flats, Lake Natron appears otherworldly. But this lake doesn't just look strange, it behaves like nothing else on Earth. Its waters are so alkaline and mineral-rich, so caustic, that it's often referred to as the lake that turns animals into stone. And that's not a metaphor. Creatures that die in or around Lake Natron, usually birds or bats, become mummified by the lake's unique chemistry. Their bodies are calcified and preserved, almost as if they'd been turned into statues. Eyes wide open, wings outstretched, frozen mid-flight or mid-dive. It's both haunting and mesmerizing. Photographer Nick Brandt captured these eerie remains, positioning the naturally preserved corpses into lifelike poses. The result? Images that look like they belong in a cursed museum or a forgotten tomb. A gallery of nature's own petrified crypt. But why does this happen? The lake's alkalinity, caused by sodium carbonate and other minerals, can reach a pH of nearly 10.5, almost as corrosive as ammonia. Combine that with temperatures often above 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and shallow, stagnant water, and you've got an environment that few organisms can survive. For many birds, especially those unfamiliar with the lake's extreme conditions, a simple dive into the water can be fatal. And yet, here's the twist, life still thrives here. Flamingos, oddly enough, flock to Lake Natron by the thousands to breed. They feed on cyanobacteria that thrive in the salty water and nest on the isolated salt flats, safe from predators that can't withstand the harsh terrain. It's a paradox. A deadly lake that is also a nursery for life. Lake Natron is a natural contradiction, a deadly trap and a sanctuary, a place where beauty and decay coexist. Its waters preserve the dead like stone statues, yet give life to one of the world's most surreal ecosystems. It's not just a lake, it's a portal into Earth's most bizarre extremes. These aren't just stories of vanishing places, they're reminders of how fragile and unpredictable our world really is. If this fascinated you, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more strange and compelling stories. See you in the next one.